Hello, spiritual explorers. Megan Rounds with Mystical Mashup here to share with you today my 4 go-to resources for deciphering hidden spiritual, metaphysical, or energetic messages. These messages appear all around us many, many times, many ways. Usually, if we're paying attention to them, we may wonder, well, what does that really mean? Now, you can certainly bring that inside and think about it intuitively, not think about it, but sit in, meditate, and allow that information to come to you. Or you could look at these resources and use those as a springboard for further exploration later. That's typically what I tend to do, but not always. So if you are like me and you want some resources to be able to give you an idea of what these messages may mean, then follow me to an exploration of 4 of my favorites. Starting with Lise Verbo and Your Body's Telling You, Love Yourself. This is a wonderful book. It was published in 2001. It has about 545 pages and it's set up like an encyclopedia. It has tabs to identify the different letters of the alphabet, and everything is alphabetized. Now, again, because this was in 2001, it may not have every ailment possible, but there are a lot of them in here. They're likely not going to include very specific diagnoses, but more general around like organs and body parts and things like that. So for an example, there's cellulite as well as cheek pain. There's high blood pressure as well as hiccups. There's nail disorders and nightmares. There's just a wide variety of things that you can look up in here. Now I'm going to show you one that I have marked called the common cold. Have you ever heard of it? Many of us have experienced this in the past, or maybe even now. It is laid out in terms of physical block, and then emotional block, mental block, followed by spiritual block. The physical block is really a what is this, what this is. And then the emotional block is things that you may be feeling about it, things that are hidden around how you may feel about yourself, your place in the world, or other people. And then the mental block is more around mindset, things that are patterned thinking behaviors, but also things that may have been conditioned in terms of thought processes. So this one, and then finally the spiritual block and conclusion part is always the same for any ailment. And in the back of the book, you see key questions that it will refer you to, again, broken down by physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. And those are to really help you connect what you have read in the description for that particular ailment to you and your own life. So this is, again, a go-to book that I use for me, but also one that I like to provide for friends and family if they're interested in receiving those messages. I do advise that you ask first before you provide people with these things. Sometimes they may not want this type of information, but if they do, and it may not resonate with them, but it also may resonate very well. I like to tell anybody who looks at this or any of these resources to take what works and release what doesn't. If you read something and it absolutely doesn't resonate with you, that's totally fine. It doesn't have to. But if it does, then it may be able to provide you with additional insights and information to work through it. And with this particular book, the goal is to release the issues that may be contributing to what has shown up in your physical realm. The assumption in this book, and it's one that I also believe, is that our thoughts and emotions are what those things contribute to what shows up in our physical world. So if you do not believe those things, this may not be the best resource for you, but there can also be some really interesting information in it for you. So it's a go-to thing for me. If you'd like to check it out further, Lise Verbo, you can get any of her books on Amazon. And she also has her own website. Now the next resource is Animal Speak by Ted Andrews. Ted Andrews was a prolific writer. He wrote about a wide variety of topics, but this one was my first introduction to him, and I love this book. It's something that I use as my go-to for any animal, bird, insect, or reptilian encounter. And now the insects and reptiles, there's not a huge amount of information about it, but there is a lot about the animals and the birds. And this book is organized differently than the Lise Bourbeau one in that it is organized by section or part, as he calls it, and then alphabetically. So I would suggest if you do order this book, you look at the index first in order to find what it is you're looking for. And you will see that things have a number of different pages referenced because he cross-references in his descriptions. But the ones that have at least 2 pages are likely going to be the one for that specific animal, bird, reptile, or insect. Now, I have used this book so much that it is falling apart, and I'm missing, pages are falling apart and everything else, and I have to repair it. But I do want to give you an idea of what it looks like when you look up something. I see red-tailed hawks all the time, and this is something I have looked up many times as well. So it comes with a keynote, which are kind of like keywords, visionary, power, and guardianship, and then a cycle of power, spring and fall equinoxes, and new moon. So it doesn't mean a whole lot unless you, it doesn't mean, oh, I saw a hawk and it wasn't a new moon, therefore this doesn't apply. Of course it applies, but maybe you notice that you are seeing more of them around this spring and fall equinox or new moon. And so then it can have a different level of significance for you. Now, it talks a lot about the animal itself or the bird, and it explains some lore associated with it. It does take a fairly strong Native American or American Indian approach. However, it does introduce other belief systems into the mix as well. But it also then talks about some of the meanings that can be derived from seeing this animal a lot or when it just enters your life. So for an example, the red-tailed hawk, it can live up to 14 years in the wild. And what this says is that 14 is significant. Now, for me personally, 14 is a very significant number. It's the date of my birthday, and it's the date of my daughter's birthday, and I just see 14 everywhere, and 4. So 14 is significant for me, and it's interesting then that I see red-tailed hawks all the time. But it says that the 14th card in the tarot deck is the card for temperance. It represents teaching of higher expressions of psychism and vision, can be used in the development of astral projection, has ties to the activation of your vital energies or kundalini and the bold expression of it, and is tied to the archetypal forces that teach beauty and harmony in moderation. It holds the keys to higher levels of consciousness. Now, that's just one paragraph of 3+ pages of information about the hawk. Now, not every animal, insect, reptile, or bird has that level of description, but some of them have more than others, and a part of it has to do with their meaning. But it's a really great first start and introduction into animals that you may see frequently or infrequently. The next resource I'd like to show you is Joanne Sacred Scribes, or Angel Numbers as it's also known. If you look at the URL, it's Sacred Scribes angelnumbers.blogspot.com. But I think you can just do a search for Joanne Sacred Scribes is what I usually do, but angel numbers, this will also come up. It just will also, there will be other numbers that show up as well. But so this is the main page of that. I always go to the index first, and that what's great about this index is you look at the single digits, double digits, triple digits, and quadruple digits all the way up to 3,333. So there are descriptions for every single number up to 3,333. And then there are links for repeating number sequences and things like that. So this is really what I primarily use it for, is specific number sequences, but just to also make you aware that it shows what are angel numbers, how to read angel numbers, mixed number sequences, vibrations of the numbers 0 to 10, and then a bunch of other things. And so for purposes of this description, I went to angel number 1111. Now, it doesn't have to be a sequential number like, or, a repeating solo number like 1111. It could be 1, 2, 3, 4. It could be 27. It doesn't matter. It's a number that shows up regularly for you, or one that has some type of significance for you, like 14 does to me. It's not a sequence, it's just a number, but it's a number that has significance for me, and so understanding its deeper meanings is helpful. So when you get in depth into the number, it offers a lot of different words like new beginnings and starting afresh, independence and individuality, initiative and assertiveness, ambition and motivation. These are just different things that may resonate with you, but they all point to the idea that we create our own realities as far as this description goes. And so then it talks more about that. It talks about how people associate the repeating of this number with a wake-up call, code of activation and or awakening code, code of consciousness. It could unlock the subconscious mind. It can also be something that may demonstrate additional synchronicities or things like that that may appear in your life. It can also be something that suggests you will see other sequences, other number sequences. The other day I saw 1111 followed by 1122 and 1133. I did not set out to see those numbers. It's just whenever I looked at the clock, there was a different number sequence there. And that's in part when I see 1111, I always say yes, please, for any additional messages that it may hold for me. But then this also shows you in bold some of the key messages. So manifest your thoughts into reality, abundance, creating your experiences and realities. Your positive affirmations and optimistic attitude will help to manifest your desires and help you to achieve your goals and aspirations. They will also assist you with serving your spiritual life purpose and soul mission. So, and it tells you what's encouraged, what this number encourages you to do, to look for, to maybe think about or behave in a certain way. So this is just an example of one of the many, many different number sequences out there, but it's a really great resource to understand those things better. Now, the last resource I'd like to show you today is the Crystal Bible by Judy Hall. This is one that I use whenever I'm looking for a crystal, but also when I may be shopping and find one that I really like. And if I can find out the name, I will look it up in this book to understand what it means. And I find that validating because I look at something and I read what it means and I'm like, well, now I can see why I'm attracted to it. So it's really helpful in that respect. And of course, if somebody gives you one as a present or you happen upon one, it's always nice to know the metaphysical properties as well. So this is the first in a number of volumes about crystals specifically. And now Judy Hall has written a lot of different books, all crystal related, but it can be things like grids and other attributes of crystals. But the Crystal Bible is a really great go-to for just learning more about the metaphysical properties of crystals. And I like the first volume, but there are, again, other volumes that go even more in depth with other crystals. One day I'll probably own them all, but not yet. So I was going to show you selenite. So I happen to have selenite right here. I keep it by my desk all the time, and I have a number of different crystals, but this is one that I really, I like to have nearby. So what it shows you in the book is some pictures, different shapes, and what it can look like. And I find that really helpful because sometimes the specimen I'm looking at is, maybe it's not the actual wand. And this just gives you an idea. It's like, oh yeah, it does kind of look like that. Now I've never seen the orange brown selenite, but that would be really helpful to know if I came across one. It also shows color, appearance, rarity, and source, and then attributes, which is what I primarily use this for. So here it says, selenite is a calm stone that instills deep peace and is excellent for meditation or spiritual work. Telepathy is enhanced by each person holding a piece of pure vibration selenite. The purest translucent white selenite has an ethereal quality and is said to inhabit the place between light and matter. An ancient stone, it is nevertheless one of the most powerful crystals for the new vibration on Earth. Now that's, again, just one of the many descriptions used in this attributes description. Then it talks a little bit about healing, how you could use this for healing, the position, the specific colors and forms, and here it shows, again, different types of selenite and brief description about what those are. The other really neat thing about this, but I haven't really used it to its full potential, is there's actually a couple of different things at the end of the book around crystal shapes. And there are a lot of crystal shapes. Like there's an example of a number of different shapes, but it has a wide variety of pages just about the shapes. And a quick reference guide around crystals in the zodiac, crystals and the chakras, crystals and the auras or aura, crystal correspondences. So like with the brain, you do have amber, green tourmaline, or tourmaline, dark blue tourmaline, beryl, blue lace agate. So a really great cross reference for those things. Some remedies, gridding, divinatory meanings. So in that it says amethyst, a life change and shift in consciousness, faithfulness and love, freedom from jealousy. Just a really, I mean, those are smaller elements of this overall book, and I believe Judy Hall has more on these topics in their own standalone book, but it's just a great resource. So this is organized alphabetically again, but it's sometimes nice to look it up in the in the index. And then it also talks about how you can care for and clean your crystals. So a really great resource. And that is it for the 4 resources that I use as my go-tos for deciphering hidden messages. I would love to hear from you about what your go-to resources are, whether it's for deciphering hidden messages or for other things that have helped you progress in your spiritual journey. I have of the firm belief that when we share these resources, we all become richer with knowledge and awareness and options for exploring our spiritual journey. So thank you for watching, and I wish you a magical, mystical day, week, and life ahead.